Hello, thanks everyone. My name is Jaume Cantarineu. I am director at Ubiqua, and we are the partner implementing the VilaWatt Currency. Our trajectory started a few years ago when we met Andreu Oizawa and we took part in some initial projects together. And since 2014, we've participated at the creation of the Grama currency, and also a small project in Barcelona. We have given technological support to the Harama currency. We're also present in some foreign cities like Calgary in Canada, and we're currently working on other projects in the US. Our latest project is the VilaWatt Currency in the city of Viladecans. Today, I will explain what this project is about and how it has become the result of the continuous learning process that is this world of local currencies. We're a private company, but we're currently in the process of obtaining the B Corp certification as a social company, which includes all the characteristics typical of cooperatives in terms of transparency, governance, and social impact. Well, now about the VilaWatt Currency project. It is a currency born inside a project under the same name, VilaWatt, created at a European level, a first call urban innovative action, and it was parallel to the Mincom project carried out in Barcelona. This project's funds were about 5 million euro. We had 3 years to execute it, so we should finish it by 31st December this year. But we've asked for an extension that was rejected, by the way. So what we finally got was a postponement, and it will end on 29th February next year. This innovation project, and I connect here with previous lectures, shows that size is not important if the project is good. Here in Viladecans, we created a very innovative project for energy transition, which I'll explain in a minute. And it won in the same category as Göteborg and Paris, so you can imagine the Parisians' faces wondering who the people from Viladecans were. So it's something good, and it should encourage other towns to create innovative projects. And size doesn't really matter when the ideas are good and worthy. Viladecans is a city at 20 kilometers from Barcelona. There are 66,000 people living there, so much less than any district of Barcelona or Madrid. And as I'm saying, their project is about energy transition. What is it based on? This project has 4 legs. A central government body is created, and I'll give you more details later, which is very interesting and as it is very innovative. This citizen public-private government. Now, from this central government body hang 4 legs. On one side, an energy transition, an energy rehabilitation project was carried out for the oldest buildings of the city of Viladecans, where over €1 million were invested as the houses were studied and rehabilitated energetically, comparing the before and after to check the actual energy saving after becoming energetically more efficient. What is the return or the profit obtained from those savings? So they wanted to prove that it was worthy to believe in energy transition and save energy. That was the first leg or the first experimental field of this project. The second one was a whole training system, including energy saving skills, efficient spending, optimization, reading comprehension, cogeneration of energy, and so on. A training system so that people could have knowledge about the new energetic era. The third leg was energy supply. There was a public tender. The city hall bought energy for the coming years, and this has been done by means of this consortium. In this way, every member of the consortium was entitled to have the same conditions as the city hall. So when a city hall buys such a lot of energy, megawatts, the price is much more competitive than the price for any private citizen. Now, thanks to this energy company created within the city, or rather, through this energy purchased by the city, the citizens have access to 100% green energy at a much lower price. These three elements together, 1. Efficient energy management skills, importance of rehabilitations, number 2, with just a few fortunates who have had the chance to have this investment done in their flats, about 12 to 15,000 euro per flat, plus 3, an adjusted energy supply at a very competitive price, besides encouraging the energy transition to a green energy and a more efficient and rational use of it, is also allowing an important saving. The project had a fourth leg, the transformation of this saving into a currency so that it becomes tangible and makes it visible to show how good it has been for us to do that energy transition, and then let the currency do its job, encouraging local commerce, creating new dynamics, and attracting more energy transition initiatives. This is the element that closes the circle, connecting all the previous three. So how did we develop this currency? Well, we took the risk, and in fact, during most of the time we weren't even sure whether we would be successful or not. But finally, we decided to create the safest type of currency from the legal point of view, while keeping at the same time the philosophy and the flexibility that a local currency must have. The result was the creation of a currency in the form of electronic money, e-money. So VilaWatt Currency was created for and devoted to energy transition. It will never lose this meaning, which is its sign of identity. Any use of this currency will always be related to energy transition, in the form of discounts or other advantages. You can, of course, use it to buy bananas, but we'll try to interpret it as a way of saving energy as you buy them near your place, not far. So always keeping in mind the energy transition idea. So as I'm saying, this is its raison d'etre, its sign of identity, as people can associate ideas and find an additional logic or meaning for money. It is easy to convert it into euro currency, although we can set the rules to avoid this, but above all, as we're talking about e-money, it eliminates all the legal problems that other currencies equivalent to euro have had before. We'll see some of this later, some more about this. We also want it to be a platform to give visibility to local commerce and institutions. So it can be considered as a marketing tool too, and we also want it to be a channel for the transmission of values. We're going to talk about this in detail later. So how does it work then? Well, it works as a model based on two levels. People enter a local currency circuit. They accept a private contract to take part in and have access to this circuit where e-money units are circulating. The key issue here was that the Spanish law for e-money, which implements a European directive and is common to all member countries in the Eurozone, has a few controversial articles that caused conflict in our decision-making process for the creation of this currency. The reason is because this law requires that there's ready cash when the user asks for change. This means that if someone converts money into e-money and then decides to take it back in cash, this law says that this has to be possible immediately. So obviously this may be a problem, as we may want to establish a set of rules so that this immediate change is not so easy to do in order to keep as big a money supply as possible. After 2 years of talks with e-money organizations, we finally found the most appropriate legal form to avoid this obligation. The very basic human rights, such as the right to life the right to dignity, to nutrition security, to children protection, and so on, all of them are exceptionally described by law as non-renounceable. The rest is considered as renounceable. So the mechanism consists, at this upper level, in an explicit renunciation by the user to some of the rights the e-money law is providing through the underlying units. The user then signs a contract and is aware of his or her restrictions when interacting at that specific level. This is already happening with the euro. We have money in our bank account and we can take money out at any time, right? But law is not preventing the bank to create financial instruments such as pension plans, fixed term deposits, and so on, so that we voluntarily place our money there. And if we do this voluntarily, we are accepting the contract terms, such as you place your money here, you don't touch it in 5 years, and I give you a good interest rate, and it is a fixed term deposit. And if you want to take your money out, either you can't or you may do it, but, well, it means I will beat you up with a 10% commission. You've accepted this. Nobody forced you to do it. The money is still yours, but it is subject to restrictions that you voluntarily accepted. A similar mechanism can apply to electronic money. In fact, it's a good comparison because e-money is one of the 3 legal forms of official money. We have colorful banknotes, full of microbes, by the way, printed in Frankfurt. We have current account money in our bank, and we have e-money. These are the 3 legal forms of money, officially speaking. So the underlying units are guaranteed at the highest extent. I mean, if our company, VillaWatt, as the managing entity for the implementation of the VilaWatt currency, disappears, there will be Aganea, the Spanish e-money entity that's monitored by the Central Bank of Spain, who's backing all the deposits and funds placed by the users. So any citizen of Viladecans can go there and ask, say, give me my money. If VillaWatt's app is not working, then give me my money, for instance. But if Aganea disappears, if a meteorite falls in Madrid and Spain becomes like a donut, the central bank, with the deposit guarantee fund, they can guarantee up to 100,000 euro per account, the same as any current account in any bank. So you don't have neither money nor less protection for your money than with a current account. This is great because it has simplified the conversations with Viladecans City Hall's controller and secretary, which lasted for just 10 minutes. We said, this is money, and then they went, yes, but, and we went, yes, but this is money. Just go and read the law 21 2011 and you'll see it's money. It can be bank stated, just as if you operated a new account in a different bank called VilaWatt, that's all. It also has other interesting effects. For instance, when the City Hall changes money from euro into VilaWatt currency, it does a fund transfer and it has its VilaWatts immediately. And when the City Hall pays for something, this has liberatory effects, because when it has that money, whether in euro or in VilaWatt currency, that money actually belongs to the City Hall. And when it pays for a subsidy both in euro and in VilaWatt, it will have paid 100% of it. So it has liberatory effects. There are no problems for the accountancy. You don't need to set up an extra budgetary account, and all these small advantages that we can benefit from thanks to this mechanism. This sort of domestication of official money, I think, is useful, and hopefully it will become a common practice in the future. So how does the flow go? Well, the user registers himself in our platform, then we send the data to the e-money entity. They apply KYC protocol to detect any undesirable customers, such as a terrorist. Then when they give us the okay, the money can start circulating and internal transactions can be made applying the appropriate rules, as well as restrictions or bonus or any term accepted by the user of the currency. all the movements are transferred later to be entered simultaneously along with the electronic money entity. Here we have several difficulties apart from the legal problems. We have technological difficulties which are not to be trifled at, as we cannot lie to our users and say that something has been paid for while the e-money entity has not stated this yet. The money has changed hands only when the computer registry of the e-money entity shows that it has changed hands. If our app says yes, but there's a communication problem with the entity, then we're lying, and we have a problem here. This synchronization is not trivial. Casuistry must be studied, and it means that some risk must be assumed, as we are acting as a sophisticated paying mechanism, which is totally legal, but it's a game that must be taken very seriously. Now, how are we carrying out this development after we've planned it? We signed an agreement with Aganea just before the summer. We're currently finishing the last few aspects of the integration process, which will be ready within the next few days. So what we are doing now is a recruiting campaign addressed to businesses and public administrations. And from the end of November, we'll do the presentation and the project will become open to the citizens. As we're talking about e-money, anyone can join at any time and anyone can leave at any time if we allow it. So citizens, administrations, organizations, anyone can charge at any moment using a credit card. They can get VilaWatts, they can exchange them, they can use them to mutually pay each other, B2B, C2C, C2G, or any other combination, because it's a neutral currency. So the development is done in these 3 stages. We have already around 200 registered users, and we hope that we'll reach 300 by the time of the launching of this to the citizens. Now about the characteristics. This currency will be promoted by the City Hall. The City Hall strongly believes in it. Some subsidies will be channeled through it, for which specific rules have been created. It will be possible to channel salaries as well, as it will be considered as an official currency. So it turns things simpler and carry out public procurement. We're also trying to get, possibly by the beginning of 2020, before the European project ends, public taxes and duties paid in this currency. And again, we connect the currency directly to the City Hall and even other public services such as pay and display parking services. This makes sense for this type of currency, as an intelligent management of mobility is an important part of the energy transition process. Don't use your car, walk more, or like we'll see later, use electrical scooters. So we're connecting here proximity with mobility and with an efficient use of energy. It is a flexible currency and it doesn't require from any additional effort from the City Hall. On the contrary, the treasurer finds it great. He makes payments here and there, everything goes automatically, and it is synchronized with the subsidy payments files, so really no additional work to do. And the cash out is totally transparent because it is the e-money entity who is paying the euros in, so the City Hall can be reassured. So it's easy to explain, it's totally legal, and it doesn't add any extra work. This is the real success of this project. Apart from all this, we're also working so that next year this can become an entry door for the introduction of new values. Currently, VilaWatt is a transition currency, a currency that domesticates the euro, that is either dirty or slow. I mean, it's paper and you need to wait for days to any transaction, but VilaWatt is flexible and easily transferable through a platform that adds transparency, has rules for bonuses and so on. But it's also a Trojan horse for the introduction of all the values, maybe not changeable, but important for the community. We're working on the introduction of co-creation of energy values. The fifth leg to be set up is the promotion of solar panels for energy co-production. When you produce solar energy, you can either use it or sell it and get some income from it. And VilaWatt will materialize that income from the sale of this energy. We're also considering the possibility of including recycling aspects. But as you know, this implies other kind of conversations, as we need to have the users identified, etc., and adapt door to door. So hopefully we'll see this all connected, and at least we'll have this good reputation element of recycling and make it visible, because at the end of the day, this is money, and another thing, one thing is money, and another thing is non-monetary values. If we find a common point, one can have a positive influence on the other. A small shop that offers you a discount because you're producing clean energy or you're recycling is showing that it's socially responsible. It's a win-win situation, and this small shop is casting an image of sensitivity that makes it more attractive to people who want that type of shops in their city. That is the connection point of these two worlds. Currencies that are not connected to real economy but represent good reputation or good values, and currencies that domesticate the euro and turns it tangible and changeable. Now, mobility issues, especially when there are personal problems for electrical mobility, such as scooters and so on, we must think how we can encourage people not to use the car, but the scooter, or even an intermodal exercise like you take your scooter, go to the train station, go to work in Barcelona, then back home the same way. So you'll get the reputation of zero carbon impact, zero pollution on your city, and then, well, the city's business ecosystem itself will value it in such or such way. But at least citizens will have a chance to show their values. There are no negative values here, but positive values, one or more than one. And we're going to see what happens with this mixture in the future. Technology-wise, we depart from cycle technology. The platform we've connected to Aganea, and if there are no surprises, it will become, in fact, already is the first Spanish currency to be linked to e-money. But we've improved its image, and it is now much more visible and easy to find what you can get from it. It will be possible to use it for pay and display parking services. Also, it will be possible to pay for the electricity bills of the local energy company. And obviously, here there has been a conflict because it is complicated to get an external energy company operating in euro involved in the local currency, as it sounds unfavorable and it allows money supplies to go away. And it's true. But at the same time, it is also casting a very powerful message that this currency is perfectly valid, and it is so much so that even your energy company is accepting it. And because it is an energy transition currency, I mean, it would be ironic that the VilaWatt energy company would not accept a VilaWatt currency, wouldn't it? So the currency is accepted, and this gives us an incentive for us consumers going relaxed to the shops as they accept the VilaWatts. And you can also pay your rubbish tax to the city hall or your electricity bill, so there's no reason to be afraid. And it is a super valid currency, whether you can change it or not. Therefore, this currency has credibility. Through the application, the users will be able to see their saving. They will have access to statistics related to the use of the currency and so on. What else? This was an interesting campaign, as the City Hall was thinking about the right way to approach this. Approaching it from the rehabilitation perspective would not be very intelligent. First of all, because after having done the rehabilitations that had been planned, the project is over, as the City Hall cannot spend again €1 million to rehabilitate private houses. In the case of electricity company, there are many other energy companies selling green energy too. So here the City Hall had to launch a differentiating message and say that VilaWatt is a company or a project that is transferring the values of energy transition, not just to you, but also to your children. It's something that will turn the city into a better place in the future. It's here to stay and to transfer values to the next generation. This is the key aspect they've tried to establish as their differentiating point. We're thinking about how this currency could contribute to this goal. And we've planned, and this will be available by the end of the project, the possibility of making allocations subject to conditions. I mean, we can send VilaWatts, for instance, just for the use in the renting of electrical scooters. In this way, there will be a vertical value transmission between different generations. For instance, I can buy the electricity from the energy company, and let's say my father is doing some courses, is taking some courses as he's retired and has time for it, and the City Hall gives us VilaWatts for renting an electrical scooter or for getting discounts in the nearby shops or for renting for the local swimming pool. So those VilaWatts can be transferred, always subject to these terms, like it's intelligent money, so it can only be used for this or that. And I can give it to my son, for instance, so I'm transferring to my son not just a monetary value, but also an energy transition message, because VilaWatt was born as a currency devoted to energy transition. What we try to do here is to show that this currency transfers euros, yes, but it will always do it with an attached message. When a citizen receives this VilaWatt statement, he will also receive an envelope with this information about where those VilaWatts come from and how they can be used. It's not a neutral money of unknown origin, as you know exactly where it comes from and where it can go to. So the currency is contributing to this message of energy transition. Well, up to here, the general introduction. I don't know if you have any questions, comments. Yes? I know you're not working on legal aspects, and we've talked about this before, but regarding your comments on these currency restrictions through the users signing a contract renouncing to some rights, I would like to see the legal report and see to what extent it is actually based on the law. As far as I know, from my own experience, this can't be done. But you've surely found a way to do it, and I think it's very important that we can have more details about this, as I have never seen this before, and it would be great if you could share it. Yes, obviously this will be shared. It's part of the European project. And in fact, this information was provided by the e-money entity itself and its compliance officers. I mean, its lawyers suggested this formula. And I believe they also carried out their own research, and they saw there's absolutely no problem on this. So the proposal came directly from Aganea. And this is showing the importance of having partners who believe really in the project and want to find solutions. So yes, they sent us a report I'll check them and I'll share them. But the key point is that non-renounceable rights are just a few, specifically stated by law. Therefore, the rest are renounceable. There are non-renounceable consumers' rights and also non-renounceable rights related to housing and house renting, but nothing related to money and currencies. This is the conclusion, in short. Anyway, if someone has to go to prison, it will be Aganea. We're just messengers here. I have some doubts regarding the fact that energy creation can be sold and the VilaWatt currency or the VilaWatt company can reward you for this. I thought that energy could not really be sold, but what you have is a discount on your next month's electricity bill up to a limited amount. So you don't actually receive money, but you're charged less on your bill. It's not a discount, it's a lower amount on your bill because you have produced energy for the grid, and this has a time limit until the next month, unless it is for self-consumption. I mean, you can rent your roof out, but this is a different process for selling power back to the grid. So how did you solve this? This is the last part. We're currently working on it with a consulting company who offers not just the measuring technology to produce kilowatts with solar panels, but they've also set up the financial plan, which includes all the neighbors' investment with their corresponding share according to the solar panels they have. They also do the measuring by reading their smart meter devices. Then this data is sent to their blockchain, and we connect it with this to find out who has sold what and also solve the selling part. So it's true, and I'm not 100% sure about it. In fact, this part needs to be finished and it will be developed from the beginning of next year. So it's true, there's a small discount, but in our conversations, we were also considering a convertible part of that money. So I'm not really sure how it works, but there's a discount part, a self-consumption part, a redistribution part. I think within a 5-meter scope, so basically within your own neighborhood, there can be energy redistribution. Well, I'm not an expert in this law, so I can't really tell, but the question is, even if there's no income in euro currency, there's a thought for the cases when you produce energy and you cannot store it, the price for your power selling to the grid will be that moment's price in the market. As now, the kilowatt has a price, but it will be different this afternoon. So if it's sunny now, you'll be paid X, or you'll get an X discount on your next bill, and the price will be different in the afternoon. So in order to restore balance between different regions, the VilaWatt currency may appear as a sort of ghost element with an intermediate fund that allows to do these compensations between blocks, even if legally there is no real income or sales. But we're still working on this point, and we still need to have more meetings about it. Do you have a circulation limit, for instance? Could we see the VilaWatt in Seville in the future? And my second question is about the consultancy company that connects your network to the blockchain. Okay, for your first question, the answer is yes. VilaWatt can be replicated in Seville, as there is an established model with a legal framework. There's no problem with technology, although obviously we would need to adapt the development process to each city's circumstances, but this model is clearly adaptable and replicable in all Europe, as it is e-money and the license extends to a European scope, so it is perfectly possible to replicate at any moment. Regarding your second question, I would have to check it, as I don't remember any names right now. I'll need to check my emails, but there are many companies, I know 2 or 3, since energy is clearly related to tokenization, abstraction, value exchange between actors, and so on. So this is a small consulting company who is managing this pilot project in a specific block in Viladecans, where solar panels are to be installed on roofs, building fronts. This can be very interesting for 2 reasons. First of all, because it clearly supports energy transition. People already think about being consumer and producer at the same time. But besides that, it can also be an income source, whether for the community or for the currency that helps to exchange values. So I believe it is an important model here in our latitude, with so much sunlight in general. Once we clear the mechanisms up, see to which extent it is convertible, etc. I think the currencies should explore this, and I'll give you the name of the consulting company later. The VilaWatt is e-money. The e-money entity, who is responding for the payments? For instance, we know PayPal, but in this case, who is responding? We are a means of payment that works like a bank. I mean, banks first check that you are not a terrorist, that you haven't taken part in the Barcelona riots. They allow you to enter the system, and then basically they check that you don't have any extremely strange bank activity. The anti-money laundering policy, but you don't have to do something very suspicious, like you have to do something very suspicious, like suddenly moving €1 million to be questioned about the origin of that money. But generally, whether the money exchange corresponds or not to a money transaction of professional services, justified with the corresponding invoice, with taxes and so on, this works like real world. I mean, the bank transfers the money and they don't mind if you don't do any invoice, as it is the tax office who will pursue you, and it's your problem. So whether the money is in banknotes, euro currency from a bank, or e-money, it is a value exchange. Whether you do tax declaration for your services and pay your taxes or not, that is your entire responsibility, and it's independent from the means of payment you use for it. So we don't get into that debate. It's up to you if you want to operate in black money. Yes, that's right. Well, now that you've taken out the governance issue, I take the chance to give you more details about this part in the middle. As I said, I would go more deeply into it. One of the key points of the project was this: to create a PPCP, Public-Private Citizen Partnership Agreement. So what mechanism have we found for this? Well, the City Hall carried out a legal study considering several options, analyzed pros and cons, and discarded an association form, discarded a cooperative form, similar to the Taula de Canvi in Barcelona, and finally went for a public-private consortium. Now, who is part of this consortium? Here, there is Viladecans City Hall, Barcelona's Via Metropolitana, with its energy and transportation competencies. So there can only be legal entities, not individuals. Only legal entities, whether private or public. In public, we have the City Hall and Area Metropolitana, and in private, there are a few associations. A Citizens Association, recently created, a Local Traders Association, recently created, not to influence or cause any conflict with the existing Traders Association. So an ad hoc Citizens Association, an ad hoc Traders Association, and an ad hoc Entities Association. These three associations, together with the public administration, create this consortium, and they manage the project from there, with the 5 legs we've mentioned. These 4 plus the co-production of electricity. Regarding the currency, they will launch recommendations from this consortium, and the City Hall will give the final okay to allow this execution. Things like a certain commission must be established, or this or that must be encouraged. If a professional decides to use this currency in B, like black money, is there anything that can be done? They are fully responsible of their acts. No, let's see. What we have here is a payment. When a money transfer is done, it could be the payment for an invoice, or it could be the clearing of a previous debt, or personal money transferred from a father to his son, or the payment of someone's salary. It could be many things, but the legal aspects behind that payment is one's own responsibility. Yes, I see, but as you sort of get in the middle of the governance of that money, I was wondering, well, governance is really applied for the encouragement rules for the use of the currency. I mean, for instance, let's encourage, if you purchase at the local shops and you stay in the city for lunch, the system will know automatically because you've paid in the local currency in the shop and then in the restaurant too. Then you will be rewarded with that 1 VilaWatt to pay for your car parking, for instance. You can have up to 2 hours free. Well, this already exists, really, but it is in form of paper tickets that users lose or forget somewhere, or they have to pay for them in advance. But with e-money, it's automatic. You simply go there and open it. We can even make it look cool, like a gift box that can be opened. Then you find out you've been rewarded with 2-hour free parking. Oh, that's great, thank you. And if you don't use it, it's cancelled automatically too. So there are some rules that can stimulate behaviors. Sure, a currency must be useful. First rule we establish, it must be easy to use. Anyone with a credit card must be able to get this money. Even if it's a big amount of money, it must be easy to do a transfer. Secondly, it doesn't affect accountancy as it's normal money and totally legal. And third, you have advantages and rewards. The local businesses know they have advantages, like the multiplying effect because of Gresham's law, the priority of complementary currency before the official currency, and all those things we already know and explained. And so far we're having a great acceptance level. I mean, around 85 of local businesses entered just 10 minutes after the explanation of the project. So we'll see, but the idea is that the currency is considered as useful and people see the advantages of and start using it. The more they use it, the more advantages there will be. When we're able to include public services and tax payment, we'll be able to make things automatic. I mean, as we already have the medals of energy creation, recycling and transportation, maybe the City Hall, just with a finger snap, will ask to set up a new rule to reward families who recycle with a lower entrance fee for the local swimming pool, for instance. That's great. And the application will show it and will say, hey, that's not money, but those values are like digital medals that need to be kept fresh because they don't have any value if you got them 3 months ago. Then you won't have any discount at the swimming pool, but if you've done it in the last month, automatically you will benefit from certain rules, such as paying less at the swimming pool or having a bonus on your real estate taxes or on your car taxes or whatever. So these mechanisms to carry out intelligent public policies that connect with certain values is what we're going to experience. All those connections that you have with the bank and so on, is there a high cost for it to keep the use of the currency going on? Well, as you know, CCLOS license is free or for non-profit projects, and for those projects already having an established model, the license is really very cheap compared with the high quality of the platform. But in any case, here the important cost is first of all related to the connections, because as I'm saying, it's very complex to be part of a European project. But obviously, we need to have a contract-based relationship with an e-money entity that is charging us for that service, no matter if your currency has just one user or 10,000 users. There's a fixed amount and a variable amount. So here there are some costs that obviously, if there are economies of scale and there are other currencies using this e-money channel, then money will cost less. And in a few years, it is for sure that it will be much cheaper. So there are some costs charged by the e-money entity than the usual management costs common to any platforms. I mean, computers, servers, and then the customization. For instance, if you want your currency to have, say, a raffle system, it will be necessary to develop that. But apart from that, the cost is very reasonable for the value you get. But the important thing here is the economies of scale concept. Any currency project by itself would be very expensive, but if we work together towards a convergence point, we'll be able to reduce our costs. That's clear. You've created a consortium where there are public entities involved, but the real fact, generally speaking, is it is very hard to persuade the administration to get involved because of political reasons mainly. I guess this should be a future strategy for the energy self-consumption communities that are getting ready, as the self-consumption regulations are to be amended to allow that 20 to 30 users share a photovoltaic system for their own consumption. So does it make any sense to approach self-consumption communities while waiting for the law amendment? Because the consortium is going to have a high cost in terms of political trust that it's difficult to afford. Well, the consortium is not the only option for this. It's just the model chosen by the city of Viladecans, as it was recommended after doing a legal study to have a central body constituted as a consortium. I think that the cooperative model in Barcelona is perfectly useful too, and I'm not sure if the city hall can be a member of the cooperative too, can it? Yes, it can. So honestly, I'm not really sure why a consortium was chosen specifically instead of a cooperative, but there are different models and each city will choose the one it feels more comfortable with. The important thing here is that all the actors are there: citizens, businesses, entities, and public administrations. This is regarding governments, which can be very diverse. Beyond the legal form adopted, the most interesting part is yet to come, and I won't go deep into it, as this afternoon we'll talk about new means of governance with blockchain, with new technologies and so on. So things are going to change. One thing is the legal form, and another thing is the decision-making mechanism itself. As for the communities you are mentioning, I don't know this law in detail, so I cannot answer to your question very precisely, but I would say that the city halls, according to our experience, if they introduce some model that poses no legal doubts and gives them peace of mind, I think that you don't have to struggle that much. I mean, the problem that we had and you know it, in Santa Coloma, my God, it was unbelievable to make them believe that it was possible, that it was legal, with no problem. But here is different. There's simply no discussion. They listen to you, you explain to them, and they say, okay, in 10 minutes the meeting is over. So that first barrier is out. We just need to see the way to connect it with the energy regulations that honestly don't know well. What happens now is that the new regulations do allow the collective self-consumption. So the problem is that the new law has not established the mechanisms for energy sale or exchange, so that people living in the same community become prosumers. So what you were saying earlier about the 500 meters scope is the same as collective self-consumption, consisting in, say, 5 tenants living in the same building, installing solar panels on the rooftop, or also if my neighbors do not agree to install them, I can go to another building at 500 meters far and put them there. For these cases, the cost share is actually established both in the horizontal property law and also in the new self-consumption law. However, what is not yet established by the law, and people are putting pressure on it, is the way in which you and me can exchange peer-to-peer energy. This mechanism should just be established by the administration, because now if I am working with some, I'm not consuming renewable energy. I just consume the energy on the grid because that's what it's in there. And if it could come from oil, from carbon, or from non-renewable sources, we don't know. So the problem is that this has not been defined from the administration, and consequently they keep preventing people from becoming energy prosumers with each other. Do you follow me? Yes, well, as we move forward, we still have 4 months to go in this project, so we'll focus more and we'll share the news so that all of us can understand it. As I was listening to you, I remembered that in one of the meetings it was considered that VilaWatt will really come into play in the next step. If we're 4 neighbors in our community and we install a solar panel and we split the cost evenly, we'll become owners of 25% of that panel, and therefore we'll be owners of 25% of the energy produced by that panel. Now let's suppose I spend my day out at work and Susanna, who lives on the 3rd floor, is at home most of the time and she's using the washing machine, dryer and so on. At that moment, she's consuming the energy that our panel is producing. She's taking energy from it, but some energy is also going into the system. So she's absorbing that immediate production and she's consuming her 25% and also my 25%. So internally we can call it kilowatts or euro, but the fact is that you are in debt to me somehow. Maybe it will be the opposite next day. You're out and I stay home and I use your share, but so it must be possible to restore this balance within the community, and in Viladecans they're also thinking about restoring the balance with the currency between different communities at a district level. For those of you who have studied the law more in depth, I think there surely must be some kind of regulation, such as private agreements. Wouldn't it be valid? I mean, we decide to have the panels installed on our roof and we agreed to set up a meter box, and then when I consume your share, we note it down and the other way around. And if we find a balance, as we agree this. Is it mandatory that energy goes through the grid then, even within a community? Yes, exactly. There are different devices, with or without batteries. You can install a meter box, yes, but the fact is that there's no regulation for this, and this is what was happening before with the sun tax. You could have a panel installed on your roof up to X kilowatts, but there was a legal black hole. We'll have the last question. Let's do one question at a time, please. You can produce energy in your own community and sell it to your neighboring communities. In fact, we've developed a blockchain technology that measures the production and the payment is made online, so you're not touching neither the meter box nor the money here. So we're restoring balance here. Yes, of course. Well, I'd like to add one final comment. Actually, a message from the City Hall of Viladecans, as it wants to be positioned as a laboratory city. And what does this mean? Well, it simply means that any ideas about introducing a new value, a new rule, a token in any circuit, such as recycling, energy, or whatever, are welcome in this city, and they want to invest in the coming years to realize this. With the VilaWatt currency as a starting point, focused on energy transition at this stage, but open to new concepts from next year. I'm just saying this because it is really an open call to try new things. They are very receptive at this moment, and I think there is a nice balance within this small city hall who is willing to do things. It's an opportunity, and I simply wanted to share it here. So despite they're already moving forward with some other companies, Miguel, if you want to go ahead and introduce your proposal to them, I'm sure they will be happy to hear it. Any other question? Okay, thank you very much then.